Casey, there's a lot, again, to unpack that's new tonight. A new message. Now they're back at the home. Investigators are back at the home. A new investigation. Now the media has been pushed out. Again, no proof of life. And, you know, the deadline is getting near. And there's no path to communication with this individual. You know, you covered crime your entire adult life. What do you make of all this?
A lot. From the get-go, I have believed that the author of these ransom notes is local. He has, it's a he, statistically, has an attachment to KOLD. Did he grow up there? When I was writing my first fiction book, I had to refer to a radio station, a TV station. I went to the one of my childhood, WMAZ. A sentimental attachment. Did he grow up there? Does he watch it? I guarantee you he's watching right now. Now, while there was no proof of life in this next missive, we are told that there was sensitive information. What does that mean? That could mean anything. That could mean her favorite color is purple. She likes oatmeal in the morning. Her first pet as a little girl was cinnamon cat. I mean, it could mean anything. It could be anything in there that only she would know and only the family would recognize. Now, why is he choosing to communicate with a media outlet? Probably because, you know, trying to communicate with law enforcement is like Daniel walking into the lion's den. No. He feels comfortable writing KOLD. He didn't put another deadline in. And most important, while everyone is looking at the negative aspects of this last missive, I'm looking at the positive. This guy wants to deal. He wants to talk. I'm sure there's a number of reasons he's not communicating directly with Savannah or a sibling or law enforcement. He feels at home, better with, more protected with KOLD. And I guarantee you something else. There was something in that letter that just came down today that put them up on the top of that roof, and they are now scouring the foothills in the area. The homeowner association, that neighborhood, has contacted everyone living there saying they're coming, they're searching, please open up your properties. Interesting that they are searching the properties of people in that very area, home to home, curtilage to curtilage, that's garage, shed, dollhouse, you name it. Why? I'm curious. That tells me something, but I'm very intrigued with them going up on the roof. What was in that note that put them up on the roof?
Now, for those that don't know what's going on, we have been covering this particular case dealing with Nancy Guthrie. I believe I'm pronouncing her name right. Shout out to everybody that's in the building. This is your brother, Original Power. This is the Hood Journalist, and we're going to be breaking down this crazy case that has a lot of conspiracies. It is just taking the world by storm. And like I said, we want to be able to be the ones that talk about this. We want to be the ones that's able to talk about this. Shout out to everybody that's in the building. Hit that like button, thumb up the video, support the channel. This is a doozy right here. Hey, I need y'all to hit that like button real quick. Hold on, hit that like button real quick. Let me know y'all can hear me loud and clear. This is the Hood Journalist. Listen to this crazy new details right here. Listen to this.
Shed, dollhouse, you name it. Why? I'm curious. That tells me something, but I'm very intrigued with them going up on the roof. What was in that note that put them up on the roof?
Okay, they went back to the house. Law enforcement has gone back. By the way, they have over 100 local people with adjoining counties participating and the FBI. So there are a lot of resources now on the ground here. Back at the house, media removed. That's interesting to me. They don't want this guy knowing what they are up to, although you can see the shot from the roof. Now, one other piece of the puzzle, there was a Circle K that confirmed that law enforcement did go to one of their stores receiving a tip regarding a vehicle of interest, and their team provided them access to the store's surveillance video. Now, this is an issue that we discussed in detail last night, and that is, okay, there's one way in, there's one way out. At some point, there has to be some camera, someplace picking up license plates, vehicles, type of vehicles that are in the surrounding area, were in the surrounding area at the time of this abduction.
It's very simple. From the stream to the river, from the river to the ocean, there's an outlet. Just as you're saying, there's an outlet, even though there may not be cameras that are helping us in that neighborhood, there's got to be a stop sign or a red light. And another thing about this quick trip, where they got the surveillance, same thing happened in Brian Koberger. Same thing happened in Alex Murdaugh. You follow the road. You follow it to its natural end, its turning point, its dead end. You have to go one way or the other. And this quick trip is also telling me the direction the perp went. See what I mean? You get to the red light, that way or that way, he's going that way. Okay, what is that way? Where is that leading me? It's slim, true, but it's something. I would be on those red lights on every LPR license plate reader along that way. There are about 200 in the Tucson area. Knuckle down. Also, I just wanted to tell you, I spoke with one of the founding members of CAST, Cellular Analysis Survey Team, and they are all over it tonight. They have people there in DC working with people locally. The locals are trying to download what they can from the towers, and those elsewhere remote are analyzing it. Remember, there's only 3 really big servers, and that would be AT&T, T-Mobile, and VCW. All the other mom and pops use those lines. They are now identifying cars in that area that were there between that time, that critical time frame between 1 a.m. and 6 a.m. And they're finding cars that went in and out, not like an Uber driver, but stayed for a certain period of time and left. And remember, it's 2:30 in the morning. Who's driving around at that time of the morning on an early Sunday morning? I have great faith. Now, here's the problem with that, Sean. Burner phones. Because when you prepay, you can put, hey, my name is Bugs Bunny. You don't have to put your name or your real address, your real phone number, none of that. Because if it's a burner phone turning up in that area, they then have to find out where was it purchased, try to get video, the works. Then they'll have to see who did Bugs Bunny call? Is he calling his girlfriend? Is he calling his dope dealer? It's very hard when you got a burner phone, but I know that CAST, Cellular Analysis Survey Team, is about 3 inches up that tailpipe tonight.
Let's go back to what Harvey just revealed to us. In the initial letter that he got at TMZ, the letter said that Nancy would be returned back to Tucson within a specific time frame.
Hey, man, if y'all listening in, make this go viral. I got some very exclusive details. I'm just giving y'all the lead up to it. I got some exclusives right now. This is the Hood Journalist. Y'all know I'm bringing y'all the news that y'all can use, all right? For those that's listening in on Twitter or X, give us a quick retweet. For those that's listening in on YouTube, give us a quick share. Same thing with the family listening in on Instagram. Let's go. This is your brother, Aboriginal Power, the chief of the Tether Task Force, and we got action.
He actually gave us a really good perimeter, great analysis of the distance it would take to drive back to Tucson. That's part one. Number two, neighbors say a suspicious white van was spotted on their street only days before Guthrie went missing. You know, one particular neighbor said he informed police about the unmarked van when he was questioned by authorities. Okay. If this doesn't look like the type of neighborhood, Nancy, where you just happen to stop and let me sit here for a few hours and eat my lunch. And most workers are in a van that is marked with their company logo. So that seems odd to me. That seems like surveillance to me.
Yes, it does. And the fact that this was noticed by more than one person gives it the indicia of credibility. It's not just one Gladys Kravitz next door going, hey, I saw a white van. No, it's more than one person, and they seem to be credible. So that needs to be chased down. And now that they have the general description of the van and they've got a date, they're going to be able to go back to that red light I keep talking about and get a description and maybe even a license and track it down. That is big. Yes, it's a needle in a haystack, but it's something, Sean.
Time is going by, and apparently she's not in the best of health. She needs her medication, and time is really of the essence. And that second deadline warning that Harvey mentioned, that's chilling. That's why I think law enforcement is all in right now. Nancy, you've been phenomenal. We appreciate you as always. Thank you. Hey, Sean Hannity here.
I think that is absolutely crazy what's going on right now. I think that it's an inside job, and I think it's ironic right after she kind of broke the bombshell and broke the lid off of the Epstein case. Ironically, she ends up missing after she blows the lid off of the Epstein case. I find that quite ironic. You feel what I'm saying? I find it really, 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 really ironic. Let's get into this next clip.
Show the suspect or suspects driving away with Nancy Guthrie. Sheriff Chris Nanos says technological evidence could very well solve this case. We've been told neighbors have received emails from law enforcement to check any footage they may have and to alert agents. The FBI has also brought in a critical response group from Quantico. They have a team processing social media evidence and phone and digital footprints. As for the physical evidence, our Fox flight team captured this video of two broken floodlights next to a back patio door on Nancy Guthrie's property. The FBI said a potential ransom note mentioned a broken floodlight. These are the ones we were able to spot. As for the ransom note, authorities say it contains two deadlines, one that passed last night at 5 p.m. and a second one coming up Monday. As the time came for that first deadline, Savannah Guthrie's brother released this video in a plea to his mother's captors.
This is Cameron Guthrie. I'm speaking for the Guthrie family. Whoever is out there holding our mother, we want to hear from you. We haven't heard anything directly. We need you to reach out, and we need a way to communicate with you so we can move forward. But first, we have to know that you have our mom. We want to talk to you, and we are waiting for contact.
And Fox News can confirm the New York Post report that one of Nancy Guthrie's neighbors told authorities that in the week prior to her disappearance, he spotted a white unmarked van sitting here on this very street. We talked to the sheriff's department about it. The only thing they would tell us, Jonathan, is that they follow all tips. Back to you.
Alicia, you know this area as well as anybody, and it struck me that it seems to be difficult for investigators here to get a lot of good quality security camera video from that particular neighborhood. And you were telling me there's a specific reason for that.
Yes, exactly. Actually, the city of Tucson has some of the darkest skies in the country for a city this size. And that's thanks to an ordinance back from 1972 to protect against light pollution here. And so in a lot of city streets here, you will see some that are lit up, but they're actually dimmed to a specific setting. You will have streets like this one where we're standing, where there are no street lamps. And then there are others where they are covered. They're very protective of the skies here.
Alicia Acuna continuing her sterling reporting that she's been bringing us all week.
But listen, they really ain't got no news on this stuff. That's what I'm trying to tell y'all. Listen to this right here, though. Listen to this.
Police releasing a man after detaining and questioning him in connection with the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie.
And just a few hours ago, local and federal officials wrapping up a court-ordered search at a home in Rio Rico, Arizona. That's about an hour away from Nancy Guthrie's house in Tucson and about 15 miles from the U.S.-Mexico border.
This all comes after the FBI released home security video of an armed and masked man approaching Guthrie's home the night she was abducted 11 days ago. You are watching Fox and Friends First on this Wednesday morning. I'm Carly Shimkus.
And I'm Todd Pyro. Let's go right to Matt Finn, live in Rio Rico. And he has a new interview with the man who was just released by investigators, heard for the very first time on Fox. Matt.
Good morning, guys. Not only is it quiet here right now, it's pitch black. There was a search here earlier tonight. There were investigators, the blue and red lights, police tape up, what appeared to be, a very controlled, intent search. And then all of a sudden, investigators left, and we spoke to a man who identified himself as Carlos. He told us that he was the man who was detained for questioning in a traffic stop in relation to the Nancy Guthrie case. He says he is a free man and has nothing to do with Nancy's disappearance. Here is our interaction with Carlos.
Okay. What were they asking you about?
Where my whereabouts.
Okay.
Where I work, where was I, and all that. But
Are you ever up in Tucson?
yeah, I work in Tucson.
What do you do?
PLS, deliver packages.
Okay. Do you think you might have delivered a package to Nancy Guthrie's house?
I don't know. Might have been a possibility. I don't know.
Yeah. Do you ever deliver like Amazon packages or anything?
Well, it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah. So do you think you may have? Did they indicate that you might have been on her property? You're not sure.
Nah, they just came up. They. Until right now, all I know is that they show my in-law a picture of somebody wearing a mask or something, and they supposedly look like my eyes.
Right. Okay.
That's it. That's all I know.
So that man says he works in the Tucson area. He delivers packages. We try to clarify if he was ever at Nancy Guthrie's house. He wasn't sure. And he says investigators showed him a picture of a person in a mask. So we believe that is, perhaps one of the surveillance photos that was released yesterday of the person in the mask at Nancy Guthrie's house. Ultimately, Carlos told us he was questioned, asked about his whereabouts. They took his phone, and that's it. He says he's a free man. He wants his name cleared. He doesn't want to be associated with the Guthrie case. So it's not quite clear what investigators got from this search. Perhaps they'll be able to extract something from his cell phone, or I don't know, perhaps DNA. Back to you guys.
Wow, Matt, fantastic job on getting that interview. And you're one of the only people to so far speak to him after this night that he's had with law enforcement. Just your sense on who he is, and did anything strike you about him, his willingness to speak to you? What are your thoughts on him as a person?
Yeah, so I talked to one of the neighbors, and they say that he's a part of a family group that lives here. And shortly after investigators got here, a woman came out from the house as well, who identified herself as Carlos's mother-in-law. And she said, look, we've kind of loosely heard of this Nancy Guthrie case, but we're not following it. And she actually said that investigators told her that they were tipped off that Nancy Guthrie was being held here. And this is what she said on camera. And she goes, there's no one here. Feel free to enter. So she seemed pretty transparent. A lot of times people claim they don't, know anything about a case. Maybe they do. But Carlos seemed the same way. He said, look, I told him I have nothing to do with this. You could enter my home. You could do whatever you would like. He seemed pretty forthright. Afterwards, the Pima County Sheriff's Department said that this search had been wrapped up, and they had not identified Carlos as a suspect. They had not arrested him, had not taken him into custody. So, at this hour, he remains a free man. Perhaps that will change based on his cell phone or some other evidence they, removed from this search tonight. But in general, it seems like if they had something that directly linked Carlos to, the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, a case that is getting worldwide attention, Carlos would not be a free man at his home tonight, but perhaps that'll change.
Did Carlos, in those sort of that eye contact that you can only have with somebody when you're on scene, we really can't get that sense just from watching on the video. Did he give you a sense that he thinks he is in the clear and this is all done with regard to Carlos, with the exception of the phone, which I believe you reported is still in the possession of law enforcement?
Yeah, and he based on his eyes and the surveillance photos, I would say there are some similarities, and his stature may be the same, like his height and build. So just connecting some of the dots, is it possible he resembles the person in that surveillance photo? Yes, that is possible, and he said that investigators perhaps indicated as much. But he told us that. He wasn't booked. He wasn't processed. They didn't ask him to, come to the station tomorrow or anything like that. It seems like he was entirely released and is free.
All right, Matt Finn, live for us in Rio Rico, Arizona, doing the hard work on the ground there. Matt, thank you very much. Let's bring in former FBI investigator Bill Daly. Bill, thank you so much for joining us. What do you make of the detainment
Carly.
and release of this man, and where you believe this case stands today?
Well, first of all, Carly, it's not that uncommon in investigations that people are certainly interviewed. It sounds as though in this case there was perhaps some other kind of tip that was received, and it's not that uncommon in cases where you're asking for the public's help, where someone perhaps has as Matt suggested, kind of a similar look. Perhaps maybe people thought that there was some connection with the home. Perhaps also authorities, as they started to maybe quickly look at the lead that was maybe called in. They said he checked a couple of boxes, maybe because of the job he said is delivering packages. So, it's not that uncommon that, police, especially when a tip may also include the fact that, Nancy could be there being held against her will, which is found not to be the case. They would act in this fashion. So I think there are many, many more leads out there, and the ones that they need to react to are the ones that have that credibility. Not everyone that calls in who says that they saw someone or the person down the street, they're going to go and either detain or maybe look at seriously. It's going to require a couple of more check marks next to their profile.
Yeah, to that end, Bill, Kash Patel said they were looking at persons, plural, of interest. Is that just a figure of speech, or do you think he means more than one person is being looked at in the context of eventually being labeled as a person of interest?
I think the director, certainly is very careful in his language, especially in a sensitive case like this. And I think, I think it would behoove all of us to think that that perhaps there may be other people involved, not just the person who we see showing up at the door in that surveillance video, but maybe there could be other people acting either with knowledge of or in concert of and support of this incident. So I think you need to kind of keep your kind of net wide and broad, not to be focused in as an investigator, to kind of think you're kind of focusing in just laser on a couple of individuals, when in fact you may need to kind of dig a little bit further. Todd, interesting that video is certainly stunning, and there are so many leads that will come out of that. Some do take a little longer to kind of run down, whether it happens to be the dress of the person, the clothing, other aspects. And I believe we've been also told by some reporters that in fact there could be some other images out there that have not been released that authorities are looking at themselves. So this case is kind of rolling, is boiling forward, and I think we're going to have some very positive results in the very near term.
Remarkable that the FBI cyber team was able to obtain this security video, and it took them a week to accomplish this goal. It has been suggested that because this person is wearing a mask, obviously we cannot see a majority of his face, but the suggestion is that there could be enhancements potentially done to this footage to get a clearer understanding of what he looks like. Do you believe that to be the case?
I do, Carly, and if I draw a little bit from my several years of experience in special photography at the FBI, I can tell you that certainly it was stunning and a great accomplishment. Kudos to the team and the private sector partners who helped kind of cull out these images, probably from, I would imagine, almost terabytes of data that were either unassigned or unallocated, because this account was not active, as we know, being actively stored through some type of subscription. So, but going back to the images, I could tell you now, right, between being able to provide kind of a height, weight of the individual through kind of AI and other enhancements, you can kind of, unfortunately, we can't just remove the mask. We can't, put something there that's not there, but you can start to provide some details around maybe the outline of the head or the face. We now know, or we believe, that this person has some facial hair. Those eyebrows are certainly distinctive, and eyebrows certainly reminiscent of the fact that many people call the Luigi Mangione case that took place in New York as being so significant that they were identifiers of him even when police came upon him in that McDonald's restaurant. So there are a lot of things going on, Carly, and I think as time goes along, in the next probably hours of this investigation, if not the day of the investigation, there's going to be a lot more that comes out, and I'm very confident that we're in a right glide path towards having this case solved.
Oh, that positivity is definitely hopeful,
Amen.
especially after the events of the last 2 hours. former FBI investigator Bill Daley. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
I'm Steve Doocy. I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube
So let
page.
me ask y'all in the chat, do y'all think that she's still alive? Because according to details, there's been a ransom note sent in to the family, and now they're asking for proof of that she's alive. Do y'all believe that she's still alive, and y'all believe that this is a real ransom? What y'all think?
Brother-in-law's is gray, and the brother-in-law's eyes are more hooded than appear in this guy. Okay, so I don't mean to beat up on the brother-in-law, but since he's been out there, I will say, to me, this doesn't look like it's a match, but we'll find out. The FBI is going to know this very, very soon. But if this is the guy, all right, let me start with this. Does this look like a professional hitman to you? Like based on what you guys saw in that video?
If I can start with this, Megan, there are very, very few actual, legit, real, quote unquote, professional hitmen out there. Of course, the mob has some, the cartels have them, people like that. They'll take out mostly their own kind. But for professional, this alleged professional hitmen that Hollywood to talk about, there are very, very few in that regard. Now, it doesn't mean there's some freelancer out there talking to some guys, sees something on the dark web and says, hey, I could do something like this. What's the address? And this is what happens. But these cases of, again, hitmen, unless there's some lover triangle involved and somehow that's where the other party gets taken out, they're relatively, I would say, very rare, quite frankly. And Maureen, maybe you have more experience with that than my career, but they're just not seen very often.
Well, what about the cartel piece of it? Like that's where I left us before we left. Does this look to you like somebody who could possibly be affiliated with a cartel?
Here's the deal with the cartel, because I worked narcotics all those years. The cartel's job, if they're kidnapping someone, it's a hit and run operation, meaning you get in there, you get the hell out, you do whatever you can. You have it already set up for the ransom. You get that money and it's over, and you drop that victim off someplace and let her figure out how to reach out to her family so that you don't have to. I mean, it's a situation that's rapid, fluid, and the whole goal is to get money. That isn't at all what we've seen here. It's just been this crazy rigmarole, and in so many with so many data points, they don't even seem to coincide with one another. It's like, if you had her, prove that she's alive.
As I watch this, you guys, and I mean, we're all subject to our own priors and biases, right? But I'm thinking about the actress Rebecca Schaefer, and she was on My Sister Sam. She was a rising star. She starred with Pam Dauber. Remember her? This is back in the 80s.
Sure.
And she was the younger sister, and she had just gotten to Hollywood, and her star was rising. And there was a man who became obsessed with her, who was watching her show, and she had not yet protected herself by figuring out how to put layers between you and the public. She was easy to find. He rang the doorbell with a dozen roses, and she opened the door. And long story short, he murdered her right there on the doorstep because he was obsessed with her. I mean, because he was crazy, but he was functioning. He wasn't, fire breathing, walking down the sidewalk. People did not know he was crazy, but he was crazy, and he killed her. And I can't help but think whether this is a possibility with this guy who you can't rule it out that there was some obsession. Obviously, with Savannah, I don't think many people would develop some weird obsession with an 84-year-old senior citizen, but it's possible that somebody was obsessed with Savannah, and she's, impossible to get to, but her mom's not.
Right.
And this guy seems kind of young. You can't totally tell, obviously, but to me, he looks kind of young, and
well, he's got that
young
poochie
is where the psychotic break happens. Yeah. I know I'm really out on a limb here. I'm just saying, this is an angle that deserves some discussion.
I agree, but I think we're forgetting something, or, we may not have gotten to the point where we notice something really important right now, and that is he's at the front door. The front door is not what they were talking about in those pressers. They were talking about the back door was left open, like he entered through the back door, and, we still don't know from the sheriff if, in fact, there was forced entry. But if there wasn't forced entry, this person's at the front door. How'd they get in? So the forced entry is going to be key.
So if my memory serves, Ashley Banfield reported that there was forced entry, and the sheriff has steadfastly refused to comment on it. He won't say. And it is, maybe that's what the video shows next, because I don't think we've seen all the video, because we do not see the moment where he gets the Nest camera down. Ashley's reporting that these are Nest cams, not Ring cams, but we don't see the moment where it disconnects and like goes dark. So clearly they didn't show that for some reason. And you're right. Ashley's also reporting that the back door was open and that the guy removed the Nest cam from the back door too. And that's strange. He's at the front door. He's going in the front door. We think he left the front door. Well, we don't see him go in. But we believe he exited through the front door because that's where Nancy's blood was.
Right.
So clearly he at least attempted to leave with Nancy through the front door.
Okay, but from a cartel standpoint, I can tell you right now, a cartel member is not going to hit that front door because it had a burglar.
So they did find blood, traces of blood by the back sliding door of Nancy's house. And they're claiming that the blood has came back to being Nancy's blood. That's on the back door, the sliding back door.
Gate on it. Those things are very hard to breach. Trust me when I tell you from experience. If I'm going to breach the door,
it had a what?
One of those burglar doors on it. You know, the metal, and the frame is actually screwed sideways with 6, 8, 12-inch bolts into the side of the frame of the door. It's not something that you just put on. You know, those metal ones that look kind of Spanish, but you can't get through them. Yep. They're extremely hard to breach. Well, they're very hard to breach. So if that next video shows him trying to breach that door and he's good at it, that's going to be a person from a different at a different level. If it shows him running around
maybe
the
what
back
happened next is he went around. Yeah, maybe he went around to the back door and got in that way. And I mean, if that happened, like if there's video showing him struggling, he can't get the door open, and then he gives up and goes around to the back, then I think we can safely say it's somebody familiar with the property. It could be a landscaper, could be somebody, it's like the person knew exactly where the vegetation was and what they wanted to grab, and they did it. So it could be a friend or a family member who's familiar, but it could also be somebody like the groundskeeper,
right,
or someone who just spent a fair amount of time on the property and knew immediately there's a back door that they should get to. And frankly, that would make some sense, because who that's breaking into a home like this and gets in through the front door after all this stuff we're watching on camera, then says, gee, maybe I should go disarm the Nest camera in the back door. No one's even thinking about the back door.
Unless there's something we don't know. Again, we think it's one person now. And I surmised earlier there could have been someone in a car. Obviously, we don't see the car out front, and we don't know if anyone would be in there or not. There has to be a car, I would think, for this person to make his egress, not just, of course, from the house, but from the street and from the whole neighborhood. So why the back door would be involved here? Was there some sort of a tentative walk around there to check it out at some point? And he decided out of the two doors, which one is the one easier to break into, to break down? That's unknown and will have to be determined, of course, later. There's a determination which way the person came in, as opposed to which way the person. I don't know that either, and hopefully the investigators do know. But more camera information, of course, will tell us about all of that.
There's a couple of accounts on X that have tried to make the contrast higher on the photos and even bring out some color. We grabbed just one of them. This is from somebody who goes by Sophie on X. And you can see a little bit more clearly. The gloves look black, 100%. They don't look brown.
And leather.
And definitely leather. To me, the jacket, I don't know, looks gray with lighter pants. I can't really tell. There's definitely, what's that, Steve? There's a close-up of the face. I mean, he's got pretty wide eye. I mean, it's weird. He actually looks like he's wearing eyeliner to me, in a way. He's got like, you see what I mean?
Yeah, in
like
the first
underneath
image,
his
I
eyes.
thought it was like swimming goggles almost. It looked like when I first saw it on my phone, that little first one.
Yeah. Yeah. And it looks like there's something in his mouth. I can't tell what it is. Maybe that's his
camera.
little light.
Camera. I'm sorry, light. Yes, light.
The light. But it's a slim, it's almost like it's a slim horizontal thing. I would have expected a round I don't know how flashlights come that could go into your mouth, but it does appear to be like a long, flat, like rectangular thing in his mouth. And the eyes look big, round, and like they have eyeliner, which typically means the person has black hair. Because trust me, we blondes, we do not look like we have eyeliner on when we are not wearing eyeliner, right? I mean,
Or he may have put
Maureen and I
eyeliner
can
on
both relate to
because that's
that.
the only part of his face exposed beside the lips. He may actually have eyeliner on.
Well, here's the other question I have for you, though. What about, I'll stand by. What? This is an aside. Brian Engine just reporting a pizza delivery man just showed up to Nancy Guthrie's house and was able to walk up to the front door without the deputies out front noticing. Oh, my Lord. Okay, let's go back to eyeliner man. There's the fact that there's no car right behind him, you guys, is freaking me out. Because if you are showing up at this home to abduct a lady, an 84-year-old, aren't you going to put your car right there?
Not for a long period
right
of
there,
time.
so you can get her in.
No, if you're afraid of a camera being there, you'd at least, you have to show yourself at some point, the mask, the jacket, all that stuff, hidden hair, gloves, but you don't want to have your car obvious to the camera. So that was somehow parked on an angle. Yes, it would make his job more difficult to carry, however he did it, Mrs. Guthrie out the door to the car itself. But he looks like he's big enough, hefty enough, not lanky as we were saying earlier, that he could probably carry the 150-pound woman to the car. And he would ideally like to have it closer, but from a tactical perspective or a counter forensic perspective, he wanted out of the sight of that camera. So that would make more sense there. So this guy, we got to give him credit, again, air quotes, where it's due. He is somewhat forensically sophisticated with gloves, with hat. Maureen's right. There could be touched, when you put the gloves on, leather gloves, there could be touched DNA on top of that, which then could be left in some other part of the house too. And that could be the break they're looking for. And a bunch of people are getting their mouths swabbed, I understand, pool people in the last 24 hours or so. And that could be a result of again, this video that's come out now. And they may have something.
Well, and a whole bunch of people are going to get ruled out quickly. If you've got more Asian eye, this is not an Asian man. I think we can say that. It's not a black man. We can say that. It's not a super tall man. We can say that. It's not
super thin man,
super slim man, but it's not a hugely obese man either. As a medium build.
Wait, before we move on
they have very round eyes.
Before we move on from how slim he is, he could have something tucked under his jacket in the front to make him look fatter, or to make it look like he has a beer belly.
We thought that about the brown person, but that was ruled out eventually. He was fat.
I knew he was. I knew he was by the way he walked with those fallen arches on the inside. You could tell he was.
The Brown shooter we're talking about.
You knew that?
Brown shooter, you're right. Yeah.
Oh, Brown University. Yeah. Hold on a second. This is, okay. Who is this person? My team is sending me things that are helpful, but I got to figure out who this is. It's an investigative journalist at Town Hall who's estimating he's between 5'10 and 5'11. We don't know, but he's actually checking. He's looking at the bricks. This is actually a thoughtful analysis because he's looking at the bricks that are there and coming up with an estimate based on the bricks and how big they typically are, how many inches they typically are, to put him at about 5'10 and 5'11. I mean, my own armchair analysis suggested he was about 6 feet too. Right. I can see that. Right. Let's see. We don't,
Can I mention something about the leather gloves?
Yeah.
So when you're taking your
no,
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. No, go ahead.
When you're taking off your leather gloves, you take them off sometimes finger by finger. Right? So you get your right hand off. Sometimes you just grab the whole, like this whole part, and pull. Other times you grab off finger to finger. Those, if there are fingerprints on the tips of those gloves and he touched things within the house, he could have transferred a fingerprint onto a hard surface. It is possible.
Mm. And right, or even just his DNA.
Yeah, definitely DNA.
He can get rid of the gloves. That doesn't even matter then. It's his DNA then that is linked to the touch DNA found in the house. So without the material becomes irrelevant then.
And when you said, why would you
lose him having touched nothing or slim?
Megan, when you said earlier, why would he take the body or whatever? I think obviously money was the motive. This is not an instance where, you know, we were speculating earlier on in this extravaganza we've been involved in, that maybe something went horribly wrong when there was an argument or something along those lines. That doesn't appear to be what happened now. It seems now this was a kidnapping or just a straight up murder where they removed the body. But remember you talked earlier when at the top of the hour where you were saying that, you know, if a gardener's fingerprints or DNA are in the house, that's one thing if he's in the kitchen or the restroom or something like that. But if it's on her bedding or on her nightstand, you know, that's a totally different deal. That may be why the body was removed if they went there just to kill her. But it's still looking more and more like a kidnapping at this.
And somehow,
I mean,
but that somehow taken over by someone, you know, starting with these emails and this Bitcoin thing down the line.
can we say that,
Completely
Jim?
separate.
Like, let's talk about that just for 1 minute. Now that we know for sure someone was there. I mean, we knew because the Nest cameras were destroyed that somebody got her, but now there's just no denying it's literally right there on tape. Should we spend another minute on just 1 minute before we say goodbye to the ransom notes on whether there's a possibility they were real? I mean, maybe they were real. They were real and they've killed her now because they didn't get their payment. And now that's it.
Megan, I would argue if they were real and connected to this abductor, or quite frankly, not connected to this abductor that we're seeing the video images of, they would have shown proof of life. We discussed this at length yesterday, and I think, you know, Friday before we signed off. This is it's the written rule of kidnapping. Everyone realized you got to show this proof of life. And now we don't know what the Guthrie family did, if they made the payment or not last night, 6 million or more or less. So we don't know. But
we don't think so because TMZ has the Bitcoin account numbers and it's reporting today that there's no money in there, that no one has made a deposit in there.
But Megan, what if you listen to the FBI's statement that they put out, they said, we know of no other communication between the kidnapper and the Guthrie family. Jim can speak to this extensively, I'm sure. There are a lot of times where they'll find a side road into the family and set up a different account and whatever, right, Jim?
Oh, yeah, that happens all the time. Yeah, I mean, in these types of deals, not for-profit kidnappings as we're seeing here, but where there's other hidden accounts that no one else allegedly knows about, and money could be deposited there. But yeah, there's just so many. This does change somewhat. We knew she was abducted, and I always was skeptical whether it was that it was for profit. Again, revenge or something else. If it's for revenge, something against the family. Maybe they just didn't want the family seeing the body in the house, and they wanted, you know, to save the family from that. It almost sounds like that, you know, there'd be some other set of rules put in there for them. This is so unusual on so many different levels and unprecedented that we're all learning here along the way, quite frankly. And the investigators know more than we do, and these videos add a lot to what we did have. But I think, Maureen, and you and I talked, you know, about this, and Megan, we talked on the air. It doesn't surprise me that this is the kind of person that came to the door. We didn't rule out someone knows a young girl, hey, my car broke down, can I use your phone? We didn't rule that out, but it's more likely going to be something like what we see here, secretive in the middle of the night, well prepared, mission oriented. I use that term a lot, to get in the door, which they eventually did. Why 41 minutes in the door? That is still unclear, in the house, I should say. But that will come out at some point probably. And then somehow this woman is carried out to a car parked at least a little bit down the driveway, out of the range of the camera. Then they had to decide what they're going to do.
On that front, a helpful Twitter user who goes by Chillinois has slowed down the video and where he approaches, and you can see that he is coming in from the left. We're going to show it. He's coming in from the side of the property right there. You can't quite see it in the video we're showing, but he's coming in from the left, around the bend of the left there, which would be consistent with maybe he does have a car.
That's where the
he was smart
driveway
enough
is.
not to park it right in front where the Nest camera could get him. I mean, clearly you guys, you tell me, but clearly he had cased the joint prior, right?
No doubt.
No doubt.
He knew there was a Nest camera. He knew where to park and where not to park. He knew where the vegetation was. He seems pretty calm. He's not like panicking, running around, right? Like
he seems
you believe he
exceptionally
cased this
calm.
joint.
Imagine.
Hey, how could that be?
He's been
Imagine
there before.
what you're about to
or
do.
He's been there before, or someone he knows has been there before and gave him a very distinctive and specific description of the place. I'm convinced of that.
But imagine the mindset of breaking into a house, destroying cameras. I mean, when you're prepping yourself for this act and you're walking up to the door, you pull out you've got your gun right there. For an 84-year-old woman, why do you even need a gun? Unless you're just trying to scare her into opening some safe, open some documents, something along that line. But nothing was missing. And then you're trying to prepare yourself for harming her, which it shows this offender, whoever he was, had a proclivity and a predisposition toward hurting people because she was bleeding on her way out. So there's just no doubt about that. You know, what type of offender can do this type of thing? What type of person, Jim?
Well, I would argue a psychopath, and on the scale of psychopathy somewhere, narcissistic, has no feelings of empathy, doesn't care about other people, and he just says, this is a mission I'm on. We don't know the purpose of the mission yet, the motivation that is, but perhaps profit oriented to some degree. Just get rid of the body, don't worry about the kidnap part, and these other people kick in with the alleged kidnapping with the Bitcoin. So it's so far a mystery wrapped in a riddle, but maybe the enigma part is left now that we see these videos. And this is going to generate a lot of activity on the part of this offender, as well as people that possibly know him. Again, Tucson, local to Tucson. Did he drive, all day long to get there, then left the scene? These are factors that we're going to have to determine. They say you don't want to poop where you eat. I'll be polite here. So I can't imagine this guy being a next door neighbor or even around the block, from around the block. But they're going to keep all angles open and all avenues open to find out who this person is and not rule out geography as being a factor.
International disputes, inflation, rising national debt, digital currency. There's a never-ending list of reasons gold has risen over 700% in the last 20 years. And a never-ending list of reasons smart Americans diversify a portion of their savings into precious metals with Birch Gold Group. Gold can thrive during uncertainty, which is why it's a crucial part of a balanced strategy. It gives you peace of mind, given all the events that could impact the U.S. economy. See if holding gold
I want to get to the next story here. Next story I want to get to, which is kind of weird. We've all been following this story very closely because it's tragic when you hear siblings sitting there and all of a sudden their mother is missing. At how old is she? 84 years old?
Yeah.
What? Yeah. And this incident happens, and then the more and more and more you keep seeing stuff, the link, when it happened, when the announcement was made. Apparently, the people that have their mother is now asking for, did you say, Rob, 6 million in Bitcoin is what they're asking for? And then there's a we're willing to pay, we're willing to do this, we're willing to do that. Rob, which clip is this? This is
Savannah Guthrie talking about paying the ransom.
Okay, go for it, Rob. Go ahead.
We received your message and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
Okay, Vinny, thoughts?
Okay, well, obviously tragic story, but at the end of the day, when something this massive happens, Tommy, I have to be like, why? Why her? Why Savannah on this level of this stage? Right. And I just want people to know that there's a fact. Savannah Guthrie, she's in the Epstein files. Rob, can you please put this up? Rob, can you show it? And by the way, this is all my assumption. This is all my allegation, but she's in the Epstein files. And if you could go up, Rob, right there. This is, I don't know who this is, Pat. I'm assuming because they redacted everything on the highlighted yellow and keep going down. Click on that one right there. Pat, if you read this, they obviously black redacted everything.
Can't see anything.
Just
You can
want-
read it.
I got you. Just wanted to give you a heads up. She's done another interview with Savannah Guthrie. I'm assuming they're talking about Virginia Guthrie. In that, she said the following. She was interviewed by the FBI in 2011 by a blank. In the interview, she gave the names of all the girls she helped to traffic. All right. She also interviewed the SDNY, no time frame. 2 other women also tell DOJ that Epstein specifically trafficked them to other men. Number 4, there are cameras in the New York City house and others where he could watch people in the bathroom and elsewhere. They're planned to air it on Today and this Friday's Dateline. Okay. Another fact, Savannah Guthrie is the first mainstream television journalist to interview an Epstein survivor. And then in 2015, again, this is all my speculation, Pat. I'm just out there going down this freaking rabbit hole. NBC executives, I'm pretty sure, knew that they released that. They're going to have to deal, Dateline was going to have to deal with, litigation and all that stuff. And then they had another thing called Reckoning, where a documentary on Dateline with all the Epstein survivors, that was going to lead to all this craziness. Now, Savannah Guthrie gave Virginia Guthrie a national platform and a voice to make these allegations that reach the highest levels of power. And if you guys remember, who was the main person that they were talking about? You guys remember? Prince Andrew. That was the number one, and they were going after him. And imagine all the stuff that came after him. But another thing, separately, Savannah Guthrie's husband, Michael Feldman, worked in the Clinton White House for 8 years. He served as the deputy assistant to President Bill Clinton as a senior comms and policy aid guy. His responsibilities were internal operations, message coordination, political strategy. And then after leaving, her husband co-founded the Glover Park Group. It's a Democratic-aligned public relations and consulting firm. Pat, you know what they basically do? They go around, Tom, and if there's stuff about you that they need to fix, they clean up your image and all that type of stuff. So I think right now, what we could be witnessing is not just an abduction, it's psychological warfare being used. Again, my speculation, but what if this is a form of institutional retaliation against someone who helped those figures? It's not random that she's in the files. It's not random that she interviewed Virginia. It's not random that she interviewed all these people. And you know what? I did a little digging. Do you guys remember who was another person towards the end of his life that was openly criticizing our government with handling of the Epstein files? Do you guys remember? What do you guys remember? Charlie Kirk. On July 14th, remember Trump came out and said, if you guys are doing this, you don't support me, I'm not with you. You remember that? That was July 14th. He told everybody to back off. That same day, Charlie Kirk said, I'm done talking about Epstein. And then guess what? On July 15th, the very next day, he flipped and he demanded that the files were going to be released and covering Epstein for nearly an hour on his show. An hour. And then less than 2 months later, I think it was 50 some days, Pat, he was dead. And this is him. This is the clip.
What are you saying? What are you saying?
I was just going to ask, what's your point?
Look at the connections. The girl that gave the platform to survivors, that exposed Prince Andrew, that blew the lid off. Guys, we never even heard of survivors, bro. We didn't know any of them existed until she gave them the platform. Okay, she gave them the platform. Maybe they wanted her husband to help because by the way, Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton are supposed to go and speak in front of Congress. This month, Tom? It's kind of
not if you have a say to it.
Well, I think it's connected. I think it's kind of connected. Why
think,
of all
what,
people?
What do you
her
think
mother?
is the connection?
Because she's.
So I'm genuinely giving you the benefit of the doubt.
Oh, yeah.
What are you saying exactly?
I'm saying she.
Like in a sentence.
My speculation is they're sending a message. You're giving them the platform. You gave these girls a voice. You're doing this. Maybe they asked her husband, who runs this firm. He's a partner at Glover Park Group, which helps Democrats, Adam, with their image and stuff. Maybe they asked him to help clean up and help with this thing, and he was like, "Nah, I'm not going to do it." This happens. There's no way. How is she randomly in the Epstein files?
Let me send you a clip.
It all
I
makes
found,
sense now.
But
connected.
Let me do this.
It's all connected.
Let me send you a clip from the lady Savannah and Trump, their history. I think this is the part that you have to hear, where the crisis happened on a day that's very, very weird. There's cops lined outside of their house the entire time trying to find out what the hell is going on. This is weird. Some people are even saying, could it be an inside job? So a lot of different angles people are taking, right? That maybe their own family did this for a different reason. I'm not saying that's the truth. All I'm saying is but this is the history of Savannah Guthrie with President Trump. Go ahead, Rob.
Satanic cult run by the deep state.
Watch
I'll
this.
tell you what I do know about. I know about Antifa, and I know about the radical left, and I know how violent they are and how vicious they are, and I know how they're burning
Can you
down
raise the volume,
cities
Jake,
run
a
by
little bit?
Democrats, not run by
Republican
Republicans.
Senator Ben Sass said, quote, QAnon is nuts and real leaders call conspiracy theories.
He may be
Why not
right.
just say it's
Can I be
crazy and
honest?
not true?
He may be right. I just don't know about QAnon.
You do know.
I don't know. No, I don't know. I don't know.
Let me
tell
ask you
all
another
about it.
thing.
Let's waste a whole show. You start off with white supremacy. I denounce it. You start off with something else. Let's go. Keep asking me these questions.
I do have one more
Let me just say what I do hear about it is they are very strongly against pedophilia, and I agree with that. I mean, I do agree with that, and I agree
But
with
there's
it
not a
very strongly.
satanic pedophile
I have
cult
no
being run
idea.
by-
I know
You
nothing
don't know
about
that?
Okay. No, I don't know
You
that. And
just
neither,
this
neither
week.
do you know that.
Okay, just this week.
Why,
you wrote
Neither
something
do you.
asking
He's
me
given
about
the right
it?
answer.
Antifa, why aren't you asking me
Because you
about the
just-
radical left?
because you're
Why aren't
volunteering.
you asking Joe Biden questions about why doesn't he condemn Antifa? Why does he say it doesn't exist?
Because you're here before.
Back in 2024 during the election.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Let it keep going.
She was attacking him left and right. I mean, talking to
I think there's
a
more.
former president of the United
You
States
can
at
pause
that
it right
time.
here because there's a lot of clips between the two
100%.
and how the stuff that they said didn't exist came out to be true in many different areas. Then this is the one that's very creepy, folks. I'm sure you've seen this. The letter she's reading is verbatim from what the lady in the movie Silence of the Lambs said when they were talking about kidnappers.
The daughter. Wow.
Tell me this isn't creepy. Watch this.
She is full of kindness. Catherine is very gentle and kind. Talk to her and you'll see. Talk to her and you'll see.
What? Wait. I mean, this is a little
And
weird.
it went on. There's actually a longer clip of it. And so my point is, think about this. What are the odds, Adam? What are the odds that Savannah Guthrie, she's in the Epstein files where it looks like Jeffrey Epstein is talking to somebody powerful saying she's going to go here, she's going to talk about this, she's going to talk about that. Then her husband worked for Clinton for 8 years, okay, leaves, goes to another company, partners up with a company that helps Democrats with their image and all that stuff. And then now the Clintons are testifying about the Epstein stuff this month. How do you not see a connection of somehow, somewhere, and then she's over here yelling at Trump? What you're talking about? There's demons and whatever is a pedophile satanic group. Yeah, there is. What other type of human being sleeps with underage girls, allegedly buries them or puts them in sulfuric acid, kills them? They have trap doors and they throw them to the freaking sharks. It's like, when are we going to stop pretending that evil is real? That evil is real and it's happening in front of our faces. I think that once we stop playing that game, then nothing is off the table, because you can't not see the connection. She was the biggest. She put the victim of Prince Andrew, a prince, and put her on the and sat there. You don't think NBC was like, oh my God, we're gonna get litigation. But she's like, we have to do it. You don't think this is a retribution? You don't think these people pay you back? You know, she's lucky she's not hanging from a tree in her house with a shotgun shot to her chest and there's no shotgun found, like Mark Middleton. She's lucky. And I pray that they find her mom. But this is all connected, bro. That's me.
Adam,
I don't think it's a family member.
I don't know
think
if
it's her.
Tom, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yes. So when you go public with a kidnapping, these statements are not written by you in emotion and stress. These states are written by professionals that work with the law enforcement that are writing the message back to you, because they are trying to do one thing. They're trying to get your person back, but they're also trying to set hooks or identify where they can catch the captors. Preserve life is number one, because the law enforcement will look at you and say, look, if you want to pay the ransom, you're risking on losing this money, and all you're going to get back is, a body at some point, if then. And so this, I believe, and I'm 90% on this, this was written by somebody in law enforcement. Now, did that person in law enforcement write the same thing from Silence of the Lambs? If they did, that's pretty lazy. But I'll also tell you this. These movies, I mean, I lived in LA, Pat lived in LA. I knew people that used to do law enforcement research for the show Law and Order. Pat, do you know how much they spent on research? They had consultants, because they said, hey, we want to show the courtroom scene. We want to show this, but it's got to be accurate. It's got to be true. We want the procedure to be right. We want it to look authentic. And so if Silence of the Lambs, if they, took the time and done research to portray this correctly, and then the person that's working with Savannah Guthrie in law enforcement copied it, number one, I think that's lazy, but it does line up with exactly what law enforcement would want you to do. So I think this was not surprising to me. There is one fact. Everyone, including law enforcement, seems to agree an elderly woman was abducted. There's blood at the scene. And from there, those are the facts. Now, everything else, are these ransom notes real? Is this a copycat? We don't know that.
And $6 million of Bitcoin is the
because
ransom.
Remember, in most of these, I hate to cast a bad light on this, Pat. But
Jeremy Royster, what you mean? Am I good? Is everything good on my end? Are we good? Shout out to you. Shout out to you, big bro. Hope all is well. Y'all drop those fire emojis, share the live stream. Shout out to big bro Jeremy Royster. Yeah, they took the other channel down right now. We going the other channel down for about 90 days until I hear back from my dispute claim that I put in.
How many of these have you seen that they think it's this, they think it's that? It turns out to be it's a family member. Angry family members or angry friends that have broken something is usually the first path on here. It goes back to Scott Peterson. It goes back to
always the
cases like
always
this.
first, but
not always, but there's a really high percent that it was inside the circle of family and friends and community, and someone's upset. So she's missing. There's blood, and I don't know, and I can't make the call on whether the ransom notes are accurate or a copycat. What if but there's some weird things going on that just shows you the law enforcement is just looking everywhere. They pulled stuff out of a mailbox. They were looking in a septic tank.
Yeah.
It shows that what law enforcement is doing with that is saying, what if it was a friend, family member, or a quick kill, and we're just looking for a body?
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I said speculation, Tom, but it is kind of weird that I'm not being Kevin Bacon 6 degrees. It's just obvious. She was the one. She was the one. And now the Clintons are about to testify. I don't know. Well, I mean, I pray for her. I hope she's okay.
I respect what you're saying, but there's a lot of dots there, and they need to be honest.
People
And there's
don't like
a lot, and there's a lot of journalists that are in this same realm. I mean, if this theme is there, then you would have a high-profile conservative journalist like a Sean Hannity, somebody coming afber him. I'm not saying, I'm not suggesting, but I'm saying if
I got you, Tom. I get it. I understand what you're saying. Tom, go for it. Adam, go for it.
Okay. Well, let me just kind of cut through the noise. And as much as I love you, Vinny, there was a lot of noise there, but I do appreciate you literally going down the rabbit hole like you said you would. So I have not followed this at all, so I'll just be simple. Number one, this is not some sort of business transaction. This is an old woman who's being held hostage. On its face, that's what's going on. There may be extracurricular things going on. There's time to decide that.
Maybe.
Number two, the whole goal why they're using the Silence of a Lamb situation is because there's a playbook here. Number one, you need to humanize the person that's being held captive. She's kind, she's sweet, she's a mother, she's a grandmother. Please return my mother back to me is the same thing that anyone would say if their mother or grandmother was being held hostage. Number three, the basic rule is you don't negotiate with terrorists. These people are terrorists, most likely, domestic terrorists, if you want to call them that. And I think it's going to end up very ugly, these people, because the last thing that these people want is to be just living with an old lady for the next 6, 12, 18 months. So they're doing this for the money. And let's see what the authorities, I'll agree with Tom here, the authorities are running this, not the Guthrie family.
Yeah, we'll see. We will see. There's a lot of weird things to it. And, anytime you're doing things, your job is to be able to consider everybody. Typically, they're going to look at, could it be an inside thing? Could it be somebody that's on the inside that's doing this? But because it's 84 and it's not like they're living in a house that's that outlandish that they're going to come in. There was the patterns of typical. It's very weird. So we'll see. We'll see what's happening. The statistic when I'm looking at this on what's happening with PBD Podcast, more ladies are starting to watch PBD Podcast, and it keeps climbing, okay? And, of course, we all know why that is. We have Vinny on the show, and we have Tom on the show, and we do have Adam on the show, okay?
Not so much.
But the ladies are starting to watch the podcast more and more. A lot of mothers and families and ladies who are getting on here. So, fellas or ladies, Rob, if you can go a little bit lower for Valentine's Day, if you want to get a Stefano Ricci collaboration tie with Valuetainment, these are limited numbered. We have them there, but also if you go a little bit lower for the ladies, the pink hats are here. By the way, these pink hats are pink Future Bride hat. Rob, can you please click on it? Especially with Valentine's Day being around the corner. Go there. Okay, Future Looks Bright, pink hats. What on the bottom, if you keep going, it's a beautiful hat, by the way. Every time you see somebody wearing this, it pops. If you, ladies, you say you watch it, if you want to represent the Future Looks Bright hat, so when you're walking in the mall, you're at the gym, you're at work, you put this on, other people say, wait a minute, me too. I watched that show as well. I'm also a Valuetainer. Click on the link below. Get yourself one of these pink hats or some of the red gear that we have, especially with Valentine's Day being around the corner. It's the most expensive year for me because it's my wife's birthday that day. My wife's born on Valentine's Day, and it's Valentine's Day. But we got a soccer tournament this weekend for us instead of Valentine's Day. So we got some stuff that we got to do because there's a soccer tournament. Anyways, go to vtmerch.com.
If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast,
it's a lot of mixed opinions right there in that whole particular segment. Like I said, she was one of the first people to break the case on the Epstein shit. Let's get into some more and see what see what the media thinks.
And hey there, everybody. Welcome to Jesse Weber Live. Okay, a lot happening right now. First of all, developing news from Capitol Hill tonight. The race is on to reopen the federal government. Now, after meeting with President Trump, two key Republican holdouts are now saying they will support advancing a funding package on the floor tomorrow. We're talking about Representatives Anna Paulina Luna and Tim.
Let's get into the facts. We want to get right here with it. Let's get right here with it.
You saw him there, James Comer. He said he needs more clarity on what exactly the Clintons are offering here. Jesse.
In any missing persons case, but it may be especially critical in this one because on the Today Show this morning, anchor Jenna Bush Hager shared that Nancy was without medication that she needed to survive, which makes finding her that much more urgent. Joining me now live from Tucson for the latest on the investigation is News Nation's own Nancy Liu. Nancy, what are police saying right now about a possible abduction?
Well, Jesse, you just heard Sheriff Chris Nanos say the word crime multiple times in that news conference. And now investigators are saying they believe that Nancy Guthrie was possibly abducted in the middle of the night. And Jesse, we are now around the hour of when she was last seen Saturday night. And I have to tell you, this neighborhood is extremely dark. We have a lot of TV lights up right now, but without all these lights, you would see nothing. The houses are far apart. I'd say, maybe 5 blocks between each home. And this street has no street lights. So you mentioned that time is of the essence. And sadly, I'm thinking that, if there are Ring cameras on these homes, they really wouldn't have captured much because it is that dark out here. And this is the Catalina Foothills section of Tucson, which is north of the city. Beautiful homes, beautiful city views, mountain views. But again, it's a very dark neighborhood, no street lamps. So my concern is, if there is any footage out there, will we see anything on it?
That's a really, really good point. Nancy, before I let you go, have you had a chance to speak with neighbors? Have they told you anything about Nancy?
Yeah, they're not saying much, but we did see a neighbor come out and put out a sign saying that they are with the Guthrie family. Again, these homes are super far apart. People aren't saying much, but Savannah Guthrie just posted on Instagram just a simple image that with the words, "Please pray." And it was a lengthy statement going with it and telling people to believe in the power of prayer and bring her home. Jesse.
And something just to note is our understanding Nancy can only be without that medication for 24 hours. So again, that time period
Yeah.
is very critical. Nancy Lou, I know you're going to be on top of this. Thank you so much for taking the time. Really appreciate it. And of course, we are wishing for the safe return of Nancy, but we want to stay on top of this in a different way because police didn't say much when they were asked what they saw in Nancy Guthrie's home that made them so certain that it was a crime scene. But here's the good news. We have the friends at the Daily Mail, and they have been doing some digging of their own. That is why I want to bring on the senior reporter for thedailymail.com, Steve Helling, with what he has uncovered about this case. Steve is fantastic on these stories. I really appreciate it. You spoke to the sheriff. What did he tell you about Nancy's possible abduction, or what's in that house that makes them so sure that a crime was committed?
Well, the big thing is that none of her items were taken with her. No phone, no purse, no wallet, nothing like that, that somebody who was going out on their own would have taken. There's also some sign that she was actually taken out of her bed. They didn't clarify whether that was a struggle or as much as just, the bed clothes off. They didn't really explain it, but they believe that she was taken out of bed in the middle of the night by somebody who didn't let her stop to get, her wallet or her phone or her keys or anything like that. Lights were on. It looked like there was signs of forced entry, but the front door was unlocked. So there's a lot of questions right now.
Was there anything to evidence a sexual assault of some way? I mean, why would they be looking at sex offenders?
They didn't explain that. And no, there is no evidence that they told us about. That doesn't mean that it's not there, but that's not what they're saying right now. They're saying that she was taken away, not that she was assaulted. So, let's hope that that's correct and that's the case right now. It just sounds like they took her, whoever it was, and took her away, and that's why they're checking the ring cameras. They're checking whatever they can to hope to get some sort of vehicle, something that they can pin this on.
Now, Steve, this is what makes it really confusing. My understanding is authorities are saying there's no danger to the public. Now, someone would say, how do you know that for sure, unless this was specifically a target of the Guthrie family or Nancy? Have you developed any theories, any idea, any clues about motive here? I mean, was this targeted towards Nancy? Perhaps was there a target of Savannah Guthrie? She's a very well-known individual. So how do we couple that? The idea of there's no apparent danger, correct me if I'm wrong if that's changed, but no apparent danger to the public. It seems that they believe this might have been targeted.
Well, we did ask that, and we said, what does that mean? And they're not saying right now, but obviously they have something in mind, someone in mind, some motive in mind that they're just not explaining right now. If they're really saying that there's no cause for worry for the neighbors or anybody in the area, then they must have some idea of what they're looking for. They're just not telling that to us.
But you haven't heard anything about threats to the family or anything like that?
No, I haven't heard anything about specific threats to the family. You and I both know that there comes a risk inherently with, being public, being on television, being well known, and especially somebody on the level of Savannah Guthrie, who, of course, everybody knows who she is. But the cops have not said that there was, a specific credible threat or anything along those lines. And they're really holding everything so close to the chest that you kind of have to read between the lines of what they're saying. And if they're saying that there's no danger, that does mean that it does sound like some sort of targeted attack.
And it's understandable why they would do that. I mean, they don't want to compromise this investigation. They don't want to tip off a suspect in any way. Happens all the time. Understandable. Just makes it very difficult for the family, particularly, to get answers as to what's going on. Have you had a chance to speak to neighbors? I mentioned this to Nancy, but have you had a chance to speak to neighbors, friends, family members of Nancy to get a better understanding of her life or what was happening?
Yeah, the Daily Mail did speak to neighbors and friends, and she had a life of, family and friends and church and kind of a very wholesome sounding life that she had going on there. So everybody's stunned. Nobody really knows why they would go for her. And that's a big question that everybody's got. All of her friends, all the people from her church, they just don't know. And that's really, really difficult for them.
And for people who don't know, when you talk about the family, Savannah's relationship with her mother, Nancy, you see clips of them together. You see photos of them together. I think she even maybe brought her on the show at one point. What is their relationship like?
It's very close. It's as close as you can be without living in the same city. You know, they talk on the phone all the time. They communicate all the time. You know, they are loving. And, you know, Savannah lost her father when she was pretty young. She was a teenager. So her mother was it. And she's always been really close to her mom. So as you can imagine, this is devastating. And people from who she works with say that, you know, this is like a worst nightmare, a worst case scenario for Savannah Guthrie.
100%. And I have to imagine we're not seeing her in the anchor desk anytime soon. She was set to host the opening ceremonies for NBC on the 4th, that, you know, for the Olympics. That's not going to happen.
No, she's not going to. No, it wouldn't make any sense for her to go right now, unless some miracle happens and her mom comes home tonight and there was nothing bad. Then maybe we'll see it. But no, we're not going to see her covering the Olympics.
I hope that happens. I hope that happens. Again, our thoughts and prayers are with the Guthrie family right now, and I'm hoping for her safe return. It's just such a distressing situation on so many different levels. Steve Helling, thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay.
All right, still to come. New documents, new photos, new videos, new claims, all about Jeffrey Epstein, all happened in the past few days. But why so many mentions of Putin and Moscow? Raises the question, who is Epstein maybe really working for? That's next. Just when we thought the Jeffrey Epstein story couldn't get any stranger, a new question is swirling right now. Could Jeffrey Epstein have been a spy? Now, I know that's come out before, but it is very different right now because of the latest dump of Epstein documents. You see, Russian President Vladimir Putin is named almost 1,000 times, and there are nearly 10,000 references to Moscow. It's like Epstein trying to get a Russian visa and arranging a meeting with Putin himself and offering to provide information on Trump to a Russian official and even wanting to help the Russian financial system. By the way, that's on top of Epstein's ties to other foreign figures and to the father of Ghislaine Maxwell, Robert Maxwell, who was reportedly linked to Israeli intelligence. So raising the theory that Epstein could have, used honey trap style leverage on elites for Israel, maybe Russia. Adding to the theory is the fact that Epstein's rise to fame and fortune was extraordinarily quick. 1974, he was a high school math teacher in New York. 2 years later, he's working at the investment bank of Bear Stearns, despite, by the way, having no finance degree. And by the 90s, he had his own firm, managing money for billionaires, had mansions, private jets, access to president's royalty. Strange, right? And this recent Epstein Files release gives us another idea of how far this influence went. I mean, again, just to give you an idea, revelations that anti-aging expert and CBS News contributor Peter Attia exchanged crude and suggestive emails with Epstein, that billionaire Elon Musk was chatting back and forth with Epstein about visiting Epstein's island, a photo of Clinton at a party on Epstein's jet, photo of Prince Andrew on all fours next to a woman on the ground. There's also an email that Epstein had fathered a secret child more than a decade ago, on top of just some very unsettling videos of Epstein, like chasing around girls. It's bizarre to say the least and disturbing. Now, look, we don't know the context of these relationships and photos, and all of these people have denied any wrongdoing. And just because you're named there doesn't mean that you knew of any criminal activity or were part of it. But that is a lot of wealthy and connected people in Epstein's orbit. So actually, with that thought in mind, I don't know if you saw this. Take a look at this. This is from an interview that Epstein did with Steve Bannon in 2019. It's believed to be his final interview ever. Watch.
The person I called was Jimmy Kane, the president of Bear Stearns. And I said, tell me what's going on. The other call was to my friend at JP Morgan, who was then, I didn't know it at the time, trying to buy Bear Stearns. So at one point, I had two phones. It was difficult because they're afraid people are going to hang themselves with the phone cord. So they don't actually come together and they're pretty short. So I was actually going between two phones talking to Bear Stearns and JP Morgan at the same time. I'm wearing a jumpsuit and flip-flops.
What color was the jumpsuit?
Brown. Brown.
Brown jumpsuit.
Yes.
I notice I don't see you in a lot of brown.
No.
Brown jumpsuit and flip-flops.
Flip-flops, yes.
With no access to books, no access to newspapers,
No access to anything.
You had lived on information.
Except my Almond Joy bars. I had extra Almond Joy bars.
Did you eat Almond Joy bars and things like that because you're afraid of what the cooks did to your food?
Yes.
Is that because of that you were in for the crimes that you were in for?
No, it was just in fact, I was.
Is it because you're wealthy?
Yes.
How did you know that?
Well, people would constantly come if I was passing by or have to go for my medical. People would either ask to borrow money or make some other types of comments about.
In
the beginning,
what were the comments? At the beginning, what were the comments?
It serves you rich guys right that you're here next to me.
There was nothing about your crimes.
No.
It's always weird hearing his voice. Anyway, was Jeffrey Epstein just a predator who manipulated the powerful, or was he working for a foreign nation? I want to bring in Tracy Walder, former CIA officer, FBI agent, News Nation's national security contributor. Tracy, so good to see you. Is there anything here to him being a Russian agent?
Well, thank you so much for having me, Jesse. So I think it's really the other way around. In reading a lot of these files, particularly the ones that do mention Putin, because obviously that's of interest to me, I strangely think my takeaway is that he was weirdly obsessed with Putin. He was very obsessed with getting this personal meeting with him, right? He never got that meeting. So much to the point that he went to the FBI to say, I work for him. I'm his wealth manager. I can give you information. And he never could. I think he relished in being a spy of his own domain, blackmailing individuals, but I'm not sure that he was working for Putin.
That's interesting because there was rumors from U.S. officials whether or not he had ties to Russian mafia. And, you know, there was always speculation, was he outsourcing Russian girls to high profile individuals? I mean, one of the things that came out was that he penned this letter to Bill Gates about him getting some sort of sexually transmitted disease from Russian girls. So do you think there was an attempt there? Like, and I agree with you. I saw the messages where it seems like he tried to have a meeting with Putin and then rejected a meeting at one point. Do you think that he was, in a way, trying to, you know, have these honey traps of high-profile people to give information over to the Russian government, whether they accepted it or not?
So yes and no. I do think that he was unfortunately trafficking young women and girls to gain power and money over these individuals, right? I don't necessarily think that he was doing it to help America, to help our national security, to help Russia, Russia's national security. I don't think he cared about that. I think he cared about money. And I think he thought if trafficking some of these young girls and women to these individuals would help him get that, then that's something that he would do.
What about another country, right? I talk about the idea of him being tied to Israel. We got all these documents. Was there anything in there to suggest that maybe he was scared for his life, not because of his wealth, not because of his crimes, because he had information in an intelligence capacity and was using it in a way?
So in my opinion, no. A lot of times we see that kind of come up, especially with some of the anti-Semitic tropes that go on with Israel and with Mossad, you know, everything's sort of connected to them. And I think people want to sort of make him a fall guy for this, particularly with him being Jewish as well. So I think that's part of where that comes from. I don't see any indication. Obviously, it's more so with Russia. That's really where I see it than with Israel. But so in my opinion, not so much.
What is the role of the FBI now after all of this in terms of next steps?
Listen, I personally think the intelligence community, our intelligence apparatus here in the United States, so that's FBI,
right,
CIA, NSA, everyone needs to do a damage assessment, really, and see what kind of information did he get out there in doing this and trafficking these women. And so I think that's what they're doing right now.
That's a fair point. Tracy Walder, great seeing you. Thanks for staying up late with me. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jesse.
All right, coming up, this is quite a story, okay? Two young Florida girls who had been allegedly groomed through a popular video game, you've heard about it before, Roblox, before being almost kidnapped and taken out of state. Now, thankfully, they are safely back at home tonight. And guess what? The sheriff who coordinated that search is going to join me next. It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are? Anyone my age or older remembers that famous PSA that was supposed to remind parents to check on their kids. The problem is times have changed, and now those dangers, they can lurk right under your very nose in your home in a totally new way. Two Indiantown, Florida sisters, ages 12 and 15, they are safely back with their family after a 19-year-old Nebraska man allegedly tried to abduct them and take them out of state. But in this case, we aren't talking stranger danger in a white van. No, authorities say that the suspect, Hermu Lasse, had been grooming the girls since last year through the popular multiplayer video game Roblox. Those of you out there with kids, you probably know what this is, before then moving the conversation over to Snapchat. He even allegedly sent them food deliveries over the many months. And then on Friday, authorities say Lasse got in his car, took a 23-hour, 1,500-mile road trip from Omaha to Indiantown to meet these sisters in a park Saturday morning. Now, here's the thing. That plan was initially foiled by a family member who got to the sisters, punished them, took their phones away. But by 5 p.m. Saturday, the girls had gone missing again. So authorities launched a massive interstate search, eventually finding the girls in the back of this guy's car on I-75 in Georgia. I want to talk more about this. I'm joined right now by Martin County Sheriff John Budenseek, who coordinated the search. Thank you so much for taking the time. Great work. How did you find this guy? Was it the phones?
Well, Jesse, thanks for allowing me to be on here. But actually, no. Initially, the two girls, their phones were taken away when they were disciplined in the morning. So unlike normal searches for Find My iPhone apps that you have for your kids, the girls didn't have that. So we did a deep forensic dive on some devices at the house by reloading Snapchat, learned some IP information on our suspect's phone, and then eventually did start tracking his phone. But that took us several hours to get up and running, track him down.
And when you tracked him down, what were the circumstances of his capture? Has he said anything? Has he given any indication about what he might have allegedly been doing?
He has not. So we're in South Florida. We're just north of Palm Beach County. And these girls were safely located, thankfully, just inside of Georgia by the Georgia State Patrol. After we gave them multiple locations, vehicle description, girl's description, and our suspect description, he was pulled over, taken into custody on our warrants, 2 counts of kidnapping, 2 counts of interference in child custody, and the girls were retrieved. He didn't talk. He was kind of smug with the whole operation, but I don't think he'll be smug when he realizes how long he's going to be incarcerated after the stunt that he tried to pull.
You know, one of the frightening aspects about this is the Roblox thing, right? I mean, I've talked about this before. Can you explain the nature of these conversations that he was allegedly having with these girls?
So through our investigation, and keep in mind, we're working rapidly trying to figure out where these girls are. Are they here in town? Or are they gone? Are they kidnapped? We're not sure at this point. So we're interviewing the family. And the family, it jogs their memory, and they say, hey, not for nothing, but middle of last year, the girls were on a gaming app called Roblox, and they met this individual. And eventually that individual was on Snapchat. We found it. We shut it down, or at least they thought. We shut it down, and they were doing the right thing as parents. But unfortunately, this individual kept pursuing these girls on Snapchat, unbeknownst to the family. But it started on Roblox, and it started with compliments, with romantic talk, nothing sexual initially. But the family did notice that things started showing up at their house, primarily food, little knickknacks, things that would make a girl happy. And eventually that individual who was grooming these girls switched over to Snapchat and continued to groom them up until the point he was able to come to our county, hundreds, actually more than 1,000 miles away from Nebraska where he was, and pick these two girls up and leave and head back towards Nebraska.
It's interesting that the family knew about him before to some degree, or what the girls were up to. What do we know about him? Does he have a criminal record? Has he been accused of doing this in the past? What can you tell us?
He has no criminal record. He's never been arrested anywhere that we're aware of. Of course, we've run him every which way. The FBI was with us in the investigation. We did a deep dive on him. No criminal record. However, through his communications, which we've now downloaded, he tells the girls over and over that I could get in trouble for this. This is a crime. You need to be careful. Basically, you need to be sneaky. And he was really careful on how he approached our area before he took the girls and left the area. And he was thinking that with them not having devices and us, he thought not being able to track who he was, that we would never find him. And thankfully, we found him. Or we'd be doing a nationwide search right now for two little girls out of our area.
Yeah, look, he's innocent until proven guilty. But if these allegations are true, it sounds something just like my friend Chris Hansen deals with all the time. Let me ask you this. Big picture, what do parents do who have young kids? They're on Snapchat, they're on social media, they're on Roblox, which so many kids are on. What do you advise to do?
If there's an app at all, any app at all, where you can chat back and forth, and I mean any app, pay attention to it. Get on there regularly, know the passwords, get on there, view the communication. If it's an app that the communication automatically is erased, don't let them have that app. And then if you don't know how to use your devices, your kids' devices, of course, they're smart. Take it to somebody that knows how to download it, look in the history, look at what the kids have been looking at, and pay attention to what's going on. In this case, the parents were paying attention. They caught it, and then they thought they'd fix the problem, and then here we are a couple days later. Thank God these girls have been returned safely, but it was extremely close to being a disaster.
100%. I've seen a number of cases end very differently. Great work by the family, great work by law enforcement, great work by you, Sheriff. Thank you so much for taking the time. I think this is a really important story for parents of young children to know about, parents of teenagers to know about. Technology's changing. You got to be up there with it. Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jesse.
All right. Up next, we're talking Florida. This is an only in Florida phenomenon. Iguanas falling from the trees. The cold, stunned creatures appearing to be dead and then springing back to life. What is the real secret behind this stunning mystery? The Florida Gladesman is here. It's next. It's that time of year when so many people in the northern part of the country head to South Florida to escape the cold weather. The problem is that deep freeze gripping the Northeast, it has also brought a historic cold snap to Florida's east and west coasts. And as the temperature dropped, can't believe I'm saying this, but this was new to me. I didn't know it. Iguanas started dropping from the trees. Yeah, now apparently this is a common sight whenever South Florida gets unusually cold. The cold-blooded iguanas, they fall into the ground. They don't move. They really look honestly dead. And that's because the cold, stunned creatures who prefer tropical climates, they freeze up when the thermometer drops into the 30s and 40s. The good news is, and very shocking news, they start to thaw out when it gets warmer and the sunlight hits their bodies and they basically spring back to life. This is a real thing. How does it happen? What is Florida doing right now to deal with this? Is it dangerous to hold a frozen iguana? Joining us, special guest, Nate Fisher, the Florida Gladesman. Oh my gosh, with a look at that. Wait, first of all, oh my gosh, that's like the biggest iguana I've ever seen. Introduce us.
Listen to this next video I got lined up.
What just happened? Donald Trump said, I spoke with Savannah Guthrie and let her know that I am directing all federal law enforcement to be at the families and local law enforcement's complete disposal immediately. We are deploying all resources to get her mother home safely. We pray the prayers of our nation, her and family. God bless and protect Nancy Guthrie. Nancy Guthrie, guys, got abducted, according to sources, or kidnapped. And they have no idea where in the world she is. There's so many speculations going on. People saying that she was the one who actually was the first to witness and interview eyewitnesses of the Epstein. And it's crazy. She was the first one to interview Epstein survivors. And this is the first video here.
A news anchor who saw the possible Nancy Guthrie ransom note told CNN it was clear after a couple of sentences that it might not be a hoax.
A lot of it is information that only someone who is holding her for ransom would know. Some very sensitive information and things that people who weren't there when she was taken captive would know.
Mary Coleman, an anchor for Arizona-based CNN affiliate KOLD 13 News, also revealed that the note had come via email and that police were searching for an IP address.
What?
This comes after Today host Savannah Guthrie and her siblings Annie and Cameron made a tearful appeal for their mother's safe return via Instagram on the evening of February 4th.
We are ready to talk. We need to know, without a doubt, that she is alive and that you have her. We want to hear from you, and we are ready to listen.
A purported ransom note was also sent to a local Arizona CBS affiliate, which
This is insane. This literally is a real thing. They abducted an 80-year-old woman. What are we talking about? I don't know why they're using abducted. That sounds like aliens. I don't think it's aliens, but kidnap. We're going to get into other people's ideas of what's going on.
Details about the 84-year-old matriarch's home near Tucson and what she was wearing on the night of her disappearance. Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos told CBS News, although he declined to give any specifics. It isn't clear if the purported notes sent to the local Arizona affiliates are the same that was sent to TMZ on February 3rd.
What?
The note to TMZ provided a deadline for the ransom payment in Bitcoin for her safe return and implied something sinister would befall Nancy if the towering sum wasn't paid. In a February 5th press conference, authorities revealed that there were still no suspects in the case, but that drops of blood outside the home, visible in scene footage from News Nation, had belonged to Nancy, and that multiple deadlines had been set in the note, the first of which being 5 p.m. that evening.
Blood on what the? Why? That's so sad.
That was one we did. It came back to Nancy.
I think we start to look at what the deadlines were in the note. First, I think was 5 o'clock today. And then it had a second deadline after that.
According to authorities, a relative made a 911 call around noon on February 1st to report Nancy Guthrie was missing after she failed to show up for a church service. She was last seen by Savannah's brother-in-law, Tommaso, after he dropped Nancy off at her home in Catalina Foothills, north of Tucson, at around 9:30 p.m. on January 31st after a dinner, authorities said. On February 3rd, FBI agents were spotted at Tommaso and Savannah Guthrie's sister Annie's home in Arizona as the search for their missing mother continues. Savannah was also believed to have been there. The elder Guthrie was not known to have illnesses such as dementia or Alzheimer's and was of good sound mind. However, she was described as being in not of good physical health. She cannot walk more than 50 yards on her own and is reliant on life-saving medication, a lack of which for 24 hours could prove fatal, making the hunt a race against time.
What? And this happened.
Hey, y'all let me know what y'all think. Is she still alive? Is she gone? I don't know. This is crazy right here. Y'all let me know what y'all think. This is your brother, Aboriginal Power, Chief of the Tether Task Force. Make sure y'all subscribe right here to this channel, Tether Task Force TV. And you already know, family. Be safe.
Suave on the track.
Whatever it takes. The alleyway.
Yeah, we had street dreams. Street dreams. Put my life on the line for this shit. We had street dreams. Street dreams. Yeah, we had street dreams.
Guess, whoa, Getty's on my chest, whoa. All about my check, whoa. Nigga, this ain't checkers, this is chess, whoa. Put one in my head, cause I played it up this vest, whoa. Look, these bullets generous. Gangsta and a gentleman. Feeling like I'm SP, I don't deal with middlemen. Bosses, I'm on bosses. Chrome hearts mixed with crosses. Smoking palm leaves while reflecting on these losses. Street dreams turn to nightmares into street dreams.
Street dreams. Put my life on the line for this shit. We had street dreams. Street dreams. Yeah, we had street dreams.
Streets of being Chapo, never expected this though. Lost a couple homies, stuff fucking with my mental. I ain't never tried so much in a year. Skipping red lights, nigga, you won't leave me here. Mind playing tricks on me, we make it clear. 40 stuff in the mind clear, ain't no fear. Street dreams always turning nightmares. Street dreams always turning nightmares.
Street dreams. Street dreams. Put my life on the line for this shit. We had street dreams. Street dreams. Yeah, we had street dreams.